Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today we are unpacking a truly fascinating epidemiological investigation. Seriously, imagine a virus, one that's usually just confined to rural forests or agricultural fields, suddenly popping up right in the middle of the ocean. It's a complete medical mystery, one that totally baffled initial observers, and as you'll see, quickly triggered a massive, highly coordinated international response. So get ready, because we're tracking the wild details of the Andes hantavirus outbreak aboard the MV Hondius.
Okay, let's dive right into this. The central anomaly we're looking at today completely defies the standard rules of virology. Like, how exactly does a rare rodent-borne virus end up spreading at sea? A cruise ship is literally the absolute last place you'd expect to find a pathogen whose natural home is wild rodents, right? But in early May 2026, that is exactly the puzzle global health authorities had to confront.
Which brings us to part 1, the MV Hondius outbreak.
11. That is the total number of cases reported as of the World Health Organization's May 13th update. 11 passengers struck down by a severe acute respiratory illness. If we break that down, we're talking 8 lab-confirmed cases, 2 probable cases, and 1 inconclusive result. Now, 11 might sound like a pretty small number in the grand scheme of global health, but think about it. When you're in the closed, isolated environment of a ship, a cluster of 11 severe respiratory cases is going to set off immediate, blaring alarm bells for authorities. And here is exactly why those 11 cases were so alarming: 27%. That is the case fatality ratio for this specific cluster. Tragically, this outbreak resulted in 3 deaths out of the 11 cases. And frankly, it could have been even worse. The overall mortality rate for this type of hantavirus can soar up to 40 or even 50%. Plus, this high fatality rate was compounded by the demographics on the ship. The average age of the passengers was 65 years old, making them particularly vulnerable. It's just a really stark reminder of the harsh medical reality and the sheer severity of the pathogen we're dealing with. So let's trace how this actually unfolded. Sometime in late April or early May, the working hypothesis is that patient 0 was exposed to the virus on land. They were likely out on a birdwatching activity in South America, which is where this virus naturally lives. From there, the infection was silently carried on board. Fast forward to May 2nd, and the UK formally notifies the WHO of a severe respiratory cluster aboard the vessel. And then, by May 10th and 11th, the ship pulls into Tenerife in the Canary Islands, suddenly transforming what was a localized onboard crisis into a massive international containment event.
Okay, part 2, understanding hantavirus.
To understand the outbreak, we really have to look at the bug itself. The specific disease we're dealing with is hantavirus cardiopulmonary syndrome, or HCPS. It's a zoonotic viral respiratory disease. Now, what's really interesting about this is how you actually get it. It is primarily acquired through contact with infected rodent urine, feces, or saliva. You typically contract this in rural or forested settings. Maybe you're sweeping out a dusty old barn or working out an infested field. You definitely do not naturally contract it in the middle of the ocean, and that right there is what made the cruise ship setting such a puzzling venue for epidemiologists at first. So, what does this actually look like for the patient? Well, the symptoms are fiercely progressive. After a 1 to 6 week incubation period, it basically starts out looking a lot like the flu. You get a headache, fever, chills, maybe some muscle aches, then comes nausea and serious stomach pain. But here is the really critical turning point. It rapidly progresses to a sudden onset of severe respiratory distress and sudden hypotension, basically a massive drop in blood pressure. Because that transition from simple flu-like symptoms to full-blown cardiopulmonary failure happens so fast, getting the patient immediately transferred to an intensive care unit is absolutely critical.
Moving on to part 3, the Andes virus anomaly. And this brilliantly illustrates the core of our medical mystery. You see, standard hantaviruses rely on strict rodent-to-human transmission. If you get sick, you can't pass it to your family or friends. It just stops with you. But the Andes virus strain, it breaks the rules. It's uniquely capable of limited human-to-human transmission. This strain is endemic to South America, particularly Argentina and Chile. And this unique capability is the exact reason why a single terrestrial exposure could spark a whole chain reaction among passengers isolated at sea.
Now, you might be wondering, how do we know for sure it spread person to person on the ship? Well, the irrefutable data is right there in the genes. Preliminary genetic sequencing of the virus from the infected passengers showed a near-identical strain across the board. In fact, there was no more than one single nucleotide difference per individual. In epidemiology, that is the ultimate smoking gun. It totally confirmed the working hypothesis. There was a single zoonotic spillover event back on land, our patient zero. And then the ship's environment, with all its close living quarters and shared indoor spaces, perfectly facilitated that secondary spread among the passengers. Part 4. Coordinated international response. So, the crucial point here is how swiftly and decisively international authorities moved to contain this threat. We're looking at 4 main pillars of the WHO's containment strategy. First up, immediate medical evacuations for anyone severely ill. Second, repatriating the exposed passengers and crew using specially arranged non-commercial flights. That way they wouldn't mix with the general flying public. Third, rigorous international contact tracing across multiple countries to track down anyone potentially exposed. And fourth, a mandatory 42-day quarantine for high-risk contacts. Because this virus is most infectious early on, and, pre-symptomatic transmission couldn't be entirely ruled out, that 42-day window was a strict but absolutely necessary precautionary measure.
And honestly, the on-the-ground support was incredibly impressive. Experts from the WHO and the European Center for Disease Prevention and Control actually deployed directly to the ship in the Canary Islands to advise on infection prevention. Even the WHO Director General, Dr. Tedros, traveled all the way to Tenerife to personally help coordinate the multi-country operations. Meanwhile, once the passengers had disembarked, the ship still had to sail back to the Netherlands. 25 crew members remained on board, but they weren't alone. They were accompanied by a dedicated Dutch medical team, including a specialized nurse, just to monitor their health and strictly enforce physical distancing all the way home.
Finally, Part 5. Global Risk and Advice.
So what does this all mean for us? Well, the World Health Organization explicitly stated, WHO has assessed the risk posed by this event to the global population as low. Let me reassure you right now, guys. While those earlier fatality statistics are absolutely sobering, this is definitely not the start of a new global pandemic. The risk was moderate for those on that specific ship, simply due to the prolonged close quarters exposure. But for the rest of us in the general public, the broader global risk remains very, very low.
And here is your actionable public health advice, just to sum things up. Basically, there are 0 recommended changes to your normal routine activities. The probability of global infection is low, and regular tourism carries virtually no risk. Your main takeaway should honestly just be to avoid contact with rodents and their habitats, especially if you're out doing some ecotourism in rural areas where this virus is known to live. And remember, there's currently no specific antiviral cure or vaccine for hantavirus pulmonary syndrome. That's exactly why early detection, recognizing those symptoms, and getting prompt supportive care in an ICU is so incredibly critical for survival.
Ultimately, this outbreak of the Andes hantavirus on the MV Hondius was an absolute masterclass in rapid epidemiological response. It really showed us exactly how a localized spillover event in some remote forest can instantly morph into a major international emergency aboard a cruise ship. And it leaves us with a pretty vital question to ponder. As our world grows more and more connected, with global travel blurring geographical boundaries, how will we adapt to contain the next microscopic stowaway? Well, thank you so much for joining me on The Explainer today. Keep learning, stay curious, and I will catch you in the next one.